Good evening, colleagues. Welcome again to another episode where we are using the Torah lenses to look into the impenetrable darkness of the universe. So the Torah lenses are like the torch in the midst of impenetrable, darkness. So our topic today, without wasting your time, is on narcissism, narcissist behavior, and gaslighting. I will explain narcissism and gaslighting. So, did you know that gaslighters and narcissists, those characters, did you know that they will eat your soul? They will devour your soul. So we're going to be using the Torah of truth, Torah emet, as a shield against gaslighting and narcissism. Like in every episode, we put a disclaimer that, especially myself, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a professional psychologist, I'm not a medical doctor, and neither in the medical fraternity. So whatever we are sharing here with the colleagues and everyone who wants to listen, we are not even saying this must be put into a law. You can still listen to this because this information is a research gathered around the Torah, gathered around all the Torah literature to benefit those who want. But if you have a chronic illness, or if a clinical issue with depression, with stress, with whatever, with narcissism, with gaslighting, we usually recommend that people should visit their doctors or their professional people. Because I'm not a professional in this field. This is after reading, and gathering a lot of information around that, and you see us presenting. I've never, and I will never say, come here, you get help. No, it's after, tons and tons of time, invested in study, in research, that you see us now presenting. But should you not go to your prophets? Go there. Should not go to your pastors? Go there and seek for counseling, for spiritual counseling, Christian counseling, but here we're just discussing things that are written. So we're not trying to convince you to leave whatever you're doing. No, we don't say that. And like I've alluded to in the preceding past episodes, this is not a church. This is not a church. It's actually an incrimination. It's actually an anathema if someone thinks this is a church. It's not a church. It's never going to be a church. This is where we discuss about the Torah of truth, what we've read. And let me say again, according to Helio Agadol, Helio the Elder, the second century Tana of the Torah, what did he say when he was talking to his disciples? I'm talking to Helio Agadol, who was a zugot of Shammai. Helio told his disciples, some of them were Yohanan ben Zakkai and Jonathan ben Uziel, the likes of Onkelos, those his disciples. He said to them, you can teach the Torah. The Torah you can teach. You are allowed. After having read an enormous amount, you can teach. It's like sharing. Why do we teach? Because people teach so many things in the world. You can find people giving advice to each other in the villages where there are no schools. If someone asks about the Fambani road, you can say, you don't need a degree to say to someone, Famba Wadai. You don't need a degree to say to someone, no. If they want, they'll talk that knowledge. If they don't want, they'll leave. So this is the type of class that we are having. After a thorough and an investment of tons and tons of time in research, this is what we would have gathered. So that's what we are expounding here. So our topic today is, did you know that gaslighters and narcissists can devour your soul? And the only panacea, the only antidote, the only medicine to that is using the Torah against gaslighting and narcissism. So I'll kind of define, gaslighting. Gaslighting, no, it's different. It's like when I in the villages, when we were growing Kumushaku, I was confused by a term teasing. Teasing. No, when someone is gaslighting, no. It's like the term teasing in the villages. In teasing, definitely teaser. No, those ones teasing, not teaser. And some people think gaslighting to the gas. That's not it. So gaslighting, what's gaslighting? A narcissism. We are going to use examples from, we'll take examples from Pharaoh, from Nimrod, but mostly Pharaoh, Nimrod, with examples from Ahab and Jehoshaphat, all those leaders who were narcissists. And before I dove deeper into this study, into this episode, a narcissist can be a husband, a narcissist can be a wife. I would define what narcissism is. But before that, I just want, a narcissist can be a wife, a narcissist can be a boss at work, a narcissist can be a leader in church, a narcissist can be a pastor, a narcissist can be a child, a narcissist can be, it's multifaceted, issue. From Hitler to the leader of elephants in the woods. So, but what is gaslighting? So gaslighting, when we are saying gaslighting, if you those who have dictionaries, if you can Google, you learn that the gaslighting, I've used the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So it's a psychological manipulation of a person. That's gaslighting. A psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes that person, the victim, to question his validity, to question a validity of their own thoughts, to question their perception, to question their reality, to question their memories, to question their, and this will lead into confusion. This will lead into slavery. This will lead into loss of confidence. They will lead into loss of self-esteem. You see, the uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability is eroded. And now this victim is over-dependent now on the perpetrator, the gaslighter. So gaslighting, we've said, is the manipulation, is a psychological manipulation in itamun over a period of time. We are asking, am I a human being? Am I an animal? It's so far. It's so many things. So many things. If that person, if a gaslighter is a husband, asina hope in herself. She will lose self-confidence. Us, some of us, they abuse women. They abuse their wives. And the wife cannot go boss. It's nonsense. The Torah doesn't say that. The Torah doesn't say that. That's why we're using the lenses of the Torah to solve these issues. Do you want to take advice? No. No one forces anyone. But the Torah is there to help. As an antidote, as a panacea, to shield against gaslighting, narcissism, a narcissist husband, a narcissist wife, a narcissist boss. The Torah is there to help. Tai was about to go like that. That's the Torah. You can go and report. This you see as we dove deeper into this study. So that's gaslighting. So another definition I've mentioned about gaslighting and narcissism. So narcissism now, or narcissistic personality disorder. This is more psychological. I'm not a psychologist, like I've said, but we are saying it's a condition in which a person has an inflated sense of self-importance and a sense of self-importance. This disorder can cause challenges in areas of, in the aspect of all this person's life, at work, at home, in your health, and in your relationships, when someone is a narcissist. So, what are we saying? So, a narcissist is often characterized by, you know, a narcissist at the same time, is, when a narcissist is a gaslighter, I'm not sure. So, a narcissist is often characterized by behaviors of grandiosity. And one of the root causes of narcissism is pride, wanting to exalt oneself and others. More on pride. Narcissism is the modern colloquial term. The Bible calls this, you know, the Torah calls this, you know, insolent pride. So, and this from a psychological perspective, this mental disorder sometimes, you know, is characterized by a lifelong pattern of specific negative behaviors, particularly an overinflated sense of self-importance or grandiosity. Other notable characteristics or traits of a narcissist include, you know, excessive need for admiration, excessive need for power, excessive need for control. They want to control everything. They control everything. A sense of entitlement and lack of empathy. So narcissists are and these characteristics and this type of this group of people, narcissism, grandiosity, like I've said, they can be found in families. It can be me, it can be a wife, it can be a child, it can be a husband, it can be a boss at work, it can be, you know, it can be, this can be a prophet, a local person, that a friend can be a narcissist, a friend. Because they are self-centered, they are arrogant and very manipulative. In short, what a narcissist and a gaslighter think is that they believe they are better off than everyone else in a society, and they won't hesitate to disrespect you. And this is found especially even in governing our nations. When they're being led by a gaslighter, he thinks about himself. People are perishing in the village. They don't know what, they just want votes. They're not worried about them. They lie to people. They lie. They're narcissists. But according to research, that's why we refer more often to books. According to research, while women display these traits, display these traits, one of several studies finds that men are more likely to be narcissists, to be gaslighters, than women. Varume ndo vazhinji gaslighters narcissists vanoshupa. It's written, it's in the Torah. It's said to say, but you know, not everyone who claims to be Christian is really a follower of Yeshua, a follower of Christ. Many are simply pursuing. We are simply pursuing our own agendas, be it money, be it fame, be it power, and someone, you know, and these false, you know, these false disciples come in many shapes and forms, the victims. But perhaps now, none is more dangerous of all these, you know, gaslighters than a spiritual narcissist. And a spiritual narcissist is someone who uses the gospel. You know, it's a lot of things are happening now in Christianity. So a spiritual narcissist uses a gospel to build themselves, you know, up. That's what they do. They build themselves up while they tear others down. And if left unchecked, their actions can inflict devastating harm in the society and in the Christian dispensation at large. So this is the danger of gaslighting and, you know, narcissism. So I don't know whether this message is reaching home, but and their weapon, what they use, especially gaslighting, these two gaslighters and narcissists, they will use mental warfare on you to make you feel like you are a subhuman, You are a secondary human being. You are not a human being. You look very selfish, very inconsiderate, and their goal is to break you down. So you have such a low review of yourself. Be it a husband, degrader. And she tells one chakadani kuchepesa mukadzi, so that when you look at yourself, you have that low review or low view of yourself. You feel you're only vulnerable to this person. So if you are mentally abused, this is what happens. This is from a psychological perspective, but I'm using the Torah. So suppose you are mentally abused, that person will ride on that. So the narcissist appears at first, they are charming at first, but that's the tactic to make you drop your guard as they groom you for more exploitation. You understand? So once they have you in their nets, in their grips, they will launch in full-fledged narcissistic abuse, re-abuse. And having so many girlfriends, and we lie. This is about the Torah. We lie. We'll talk about it. In this age and era, uchipondewa baba wanambo kuponda kusho. And ushitofa with the narcissist you die. How many people are being abused? How many people are being butchered? How many women are being butchered? And the victim now, a woman or a man who is a victim, will never call the police. They will not tell the police about the police. And they'll die. So it's a high time that victims should wake up and say, no more narcissism, no more gaslighting. And we have two types of narcissists, and we have two types of gaslighters. We have a person, a narcissist, who is called adaptive narcissist or adaptive narcissism. This refers to someone who is actually helpful. Yes, he's a narcissist, but it's actually helpful for himself. He looks himself at high self-confidence. They are self-reliant, and they have the ability to celebrate themselves. That's an adaptive narcissist, or we call them adaptive narcissism. But the most dangerous one is the maladaptive narcissist. The maladaptive narcissism is connected to traits that don't serve you and negatively impact how you relate yourself with others. No, a low self-esteem. You see? For example, they like entitlement. They are very aggressive. They are very abusive. Very abusive of language. Derogatory. And they have a tendency to take advantage of others. So it's dangerous. So there's a book. There was a book that was written we used books in 1983 about Hitler. This guy called Norbert Brumbeck in 1983. He wrote a book about Hitler's psychopathology. And Hitler, I don't know what he did, Hitler. He wrote it's a very useful research, and if you have time, the book is called Hitler's Psychopathology. Hitler's absurd self-belief amounted to overriding in that book. Obsession that drew in ever-widening concentric circles of the German society. In the end result, many people, 6 million people died. Over 6 million people, Jews, died in Germany. Not by Hitler. So, no. And you then discover that, this phenomenon of group hero worship, it's a phenomenon in developing countries. There's that phenomenon of group hero worshiping. The hero worship a chronic narcissist. You see? For example, like I've alluded to when I was introducing this topic, this episode. If you take example of Pharaoh in Hebrew, Pharaoh. Why did Pharaoh need Joseph to figure out about the dream, his 2 dreams. And why were his own advisors, all of them expert dream interpreters? Why did not include them? Why were they unable to figure out the symbolism of Pharaoh's dreams for themselves? Why? After all, Joseph was in prison. So why did they fail to interpret the words of Pharaoh? And the only answer is the Torah. We get it from the Midrash. The Midrash now is coming in to tell us what happened using the Torah lens, Torah lenses now to interpret and try to find figures and answers. So the Midrash knows that in ancient Egypt, all the gods, all the gods were subservient to the reigning Pharaoh. Pharaoh, this guy was, Pharaoh was 2 meters. Was just 1 meter. Pharaoh, up to 2. All the gods were subservient to Pharaoh. So this was the paradigm propagated by the elite, and it was blindly accepted by the populace without research, without study, without asking. Pharaoh and the gods of Egypt were worshipping Pharaoh. No, but while this may have worked in terms of keeping the society in check, it was very good that those strategies were very important in keeping the society in check and balancing, with everyone bowing the supreme leadership of one narcissistic individual. But its downside, the downside of this approach was that all empires, they collapsed. Be it the Babylonian Empire, be it Nimrod, Babylon, the Tower of Babel, Narcissism. You cannot tell them. You can't. You can't tell them what to do. They know everything. Babylonian Empire, Egyptian Empire. We're talking about Pharaoh now. The Turkish Empire, the Persian Empire, the likes of Ahasuerus. So Pharaoh's advice. So we are using Pharaoh as an example of a narcissistic behavior. So Pharaoh's advisors, we are saying Pharaoh had a dream, but the advisors could not interpret the dream. So Pharaoh's advisors had clearly drank the Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is when you want to make water drinkable to kids, we put some sugar. So that's a Kool-Aid. So Pharaoh's advisors clearly drank some Kool-Aid. And they were utterly convinced of the fact that anything which was important to Egypt's destiny to be resolved around Pharaoh. Anything in Egypt, Pharaoh. That's the advisors, including Job. Job was working there. Job, the likes of Job, Yitro, Baba Mkazo Moses, and Jetro Dogovashanda, Pharaoh. The Pharaoh's the most important advisors were Jethro, and Yov, Job, Baram Yangangaya, Baram, never twins, Janice and Jambres. Those are the Gangas of Pharaoh. I see those 4, 5 years. So, and other gods, they worshipped Pharaoh. So, and Pharaoh felt the same way. As far as he was concerned, it was always about him. So, and it was this handicap that hindered the outlook of Pharaoh's coterie of advisors, of counselors. Because when the dream was brought to them, unsurprisingly, the interpretation was centered around Pharaoh. Pharaoh, I don't have no time for the dreams. The dreams of the cows, the thin swallowing the fat, and the dream about the story in the Bible. I don't repeat it. But what I want to prove to you here is that that's the danger of narcissism. Things that are centered around narcissists, and they could not figure out. Because if someone said, yeah, you're going to have 7 daughters that are going to be, someone said, yeah, you're going to have 7 wakwasha, someone saying around him. And when Joseph was released from prison, he didn't say that. Joseph said, no, your dream relates to the nation of Egypt. It's not about you. It's nothing to do with you. That's why they failed to interpret the dreams. So, because things are centered around Pharaoh. Everything, Pharaoh Shaddai. So, and that was built by by narcissist and gaslighting ideologies. So, but we have ways. The Torah have ways. The Torah has got so many ways to make a narcissist, to defend yourself from narcissism. Is a panacea, is an antidote to make yourself, to defend yourself from gaslighting. So this is what we're going to be talking now. But they take advantage of people. So how do you then evade? How do you defend yourself? So the secret of how to make a narcissist fear you is to create a narcissistic injury or a narcissistic injuries by targeting things they hate or fear. This is happening in marriage. We talked about marriage. At work, it's everywhere. Narcissism. Be it a husband, let me repeat it, be it a wife, be it children, be it bosses, be it whoever in the government. We have such people as narcissists and gaslighters. So the secret is to create a narcissistic injury by targeting the things they fear most. They are according to the Torah. The likes of those Ahab's prophets, when they said Ahab and Jehoshaphat, they said amuna umwe prophet here vanorira vatibetsere kuvunzira. Ahab said Zedekiah, they said so many things positive about Ahab because they didn't want to say negative things. They didn't want to say them to him. So until Jehoshaphat said, don't you have another prophet here within your palace? Then they said, no. And in Micaiah, but we're not in good books. Micaiah. Then when Micaiah came, he prophesied differently. So and yet a narcissist would want to hear good news. Only good news, no bad news. So, but this mission to protect yourself from a narcissistic behavior, from a narcissistic person, a person who is nagging, a person who is abusive in marriage, where so many people are very abusive in marriage. It's not to say to Pharaoh and so, or I don't know. So from the Torah, from the Midrashi, the first point is don't give them your attention. Never give them your attention. Because remember, these guys are attention seekers and will do anything to be noticed. And your attention is like a fuel, like your attention is a narcissistic fuel. It is, you see, in the paraffin, if you're very attentive with them, they use that as fuel. So, because they hoover like fish for compliments, hoping to boost their self-esteem. They use you. They use you. So that's what we can do. You can just don't give them your attention. Just ignore them. And starve them of empathy. So empathy, what is empathy? Another point, empathy is the ability to understand and be sensitive to the needs of the person around you. So the narcissist knows you are very empathic. That's why they targeted you in the first place. So as an empathy, you are prime source of narcissistic fuel. So you give them gas, you give them fuel to abuse you. Because they preyed on you by pretending to be victimized by everyone in their life. So they come to you for sympathy, for empathy. And you need to show strength and confidence in yourself. So appearing emotionally weak and easily triggered around the narcissist convince them that you cannot do anything. You don't have control over your life. So show strength and confidence in your life. Rebuild your self-esteem by repeating affirmations and interacting with confident people. And with confidence, this will frighten their the egomaniac behavior. Sometimes you need to ignore them. What the Torah says, just ignore them. So because they are self-centered, and their self-centeredness, might create a facade that they are respecting your boundaries. They are self-centered. They don't help anyone. So you can another method. You can just say no. Remember, narcissists are used to getting their way through dishonesty, through deflection, through control. That's their energy. That's how they fuel themselves. That's how they get their tank filled. Through dishonesty, through deflection, through vundusira. Tell them, no ways today. I won't do that. And this guitar is also. And you watch them scream. They'll try to charm you or bully you into providing their wants and needs. They'll do that. Stick to your guns and say, no, this time, no. And that's good. Don't comply with their demands. What about if the only source of energy is them, but don't comply with their demands? So if they continue to pursue, call the police. Just call the police. Just sue them. Just sue them. By challenging them. You can challenge them by suing them to the police. Just sue them to the court of law. So those are some of the strategies, some of the methodologies from the Torah, from the Midrash, how you deal with the narcissist, how do you deal with Pharaoh, how do you deal with Pharaoh in the relationship. Another very important narcissist is the body, against the soul. The body is very dictating. I want this, I want this, I want this. The body doesn't ask the soul. It's an issue. How does your soul deal with your body? Your body is a narcissist. Your body is a gaslighting. So we need to expose them. It's time you stopped playing nice and called out the narcissist. Let them know, they are pathological liars and cheaters who use gaslighting, like I told you, tactics to convince that they are invincible. See? So expose their multiple aliases designed for scams and deceit. Expose them. If he's a husband, expose him. Like report. How do you then just live like that? And some people think maybe it's written. Because no one was born, no one was created to be abused. Hakuna zungu zakadela. Agonu kuyabisa mwana womundu. You cannot do that in this world today. It's not allowed. And one important point is take back your control. Torah control yako. Because the gaslighter and narcissist is a manipulator. It is a way of gradually and systematically, relieving you of your control. You no longer have control over your body, over yourself, over your soul. And you may not realize what has been happening to you over all these years. Because your power has been taken. So make them fear you by seizing control and becoming more assertive. They hate losing control because it means they can no longer manipulate and emotionally abuse you. So they hate that. And another issue is very important now, quintessential in this report, in this episode, is the methodology is strengthen your support network. A narcissist can be a parent who is nagging, who is so much gaslighting. How do you deal with such a person? Abandi baba, abandi mai, but he's a narcissist. They will eat like gaslighters and narcissists. They eat, they will devour, they will eat, they'll eat your soul. If you stand now before a multitude to present, coming from such a family, you doubt yourself. Am I a human being? Sure, am I a human being? So gaslighters are dangerous. So you need to strengthen your network or your support network to successfully manipulate and control you. That's what they do. Narcissists need to isolate you from your relatives. They isolate you from people who have support or who support people who support you. People who love you, people who support, they will isolate you from those people. That's a narcissistic behavior in the gaslighting. To isolate you from people where you get support. As such, it's frightening when you see you are banding together with friends, and your friends are running away from you because they've been gaslighted. You see, so if possible, limit your interaction now You know, I like the Torah so much. Limit your interaction to when your peeps are around and stand for you. Stand miraoga. It's more difficult now, but you can stand alone. Stand by yourself. Stand by your soul. Stand by your guts. Stand by your guns. I know it's more difficult for the manipulator to leave you like that. They will still come and control you. So, but what is important is that when they try to isolate you from your buttressing support, from your family of friends, just learn to live by yourself. Remember, being alone is different from being lonely. You can be alone and happy. You can befriend books. So many things can be done. So you can reject a narcissist. Both, like we've said, narcissism is some kind of a pride. Because when you reject them, they feel inadequate, they feel inferior, they feel unlovable, they feel invalidated. So it's another very important point. Because narcissists use criticism. They criticize, really stunning, really piercing, goes straight to the heart. Kanaka ku criticize up, not even. So that's their food. And what you need to now offer as a victim is to offer constructive criticism. Whenever they make a mistake and immediately get defensive or lash out, criticism crushes their self-esteem only because they perceive it as a threat. They perceive constructive criticism as a threat, so they don't want that. So if East comes to West, you can use public humiliation from the Torah, the Midrashi. So instill public and dread through public humiliation, something they fear greatly. They will do anything to protect the public facade they created. So take them to the court for legitimate reasons. Take that person, take that woman to court if she's abusing you. Take the husband to court. They don't want public humiliation, but they abuse you. They abuse us. Take them to court. It's here. Take them to court for legitimate reasons. It's a legal and effective way to shame the devil, to shame them. You know, it's important to expose the chameleon publicly. Expose the chameleon publicly. So, and that's an incredible blow to their fragile ego and will evoke feelings they are deadly afraid of. Shame them and embarrass them. So, that's what is important. So, of all what we have discussed in this episode, what is important is to build a defense line, a wall against yourself, using the Torah lenses, using the Torah of truth. If they say you die, no far, just say, it's okay, I'm ready. I should have died on Monday last week. I want to die. Both from the Torah, if you know those topics that we had covered already, we have covered about reincarnation. It's important to die now because you can come back early and finish your cycle. So it was like we said in the previous classes, you get oxygen from trees. You get food from the fields or from the refrigerator. You use your hand. And oxygen, you use your nose from the trees. And if you want something, you have to walk with. No one walk for you. You have to walk with your feet, with your legs. You have to use your hand to eat food. You have to use your mouth. You have to use your eyes. For oxygen, you have to use your nose. So no one must threaten you with death. And having said that, I am saying I'm not a spiritual, a spiritual geologist. I'm not a trained counselor, but this is after a wide, a consultation with books, with the academic, juggernauts. those guys who are our academic ancestors, who have walked this way before. We are just saying, you know, you can consult a Christian counselor to overcome, a narcissistic trait. If you have one, you can go and counsel. If you have a professional counselor, you can go there. But if you just say, no, let them do what they want, thank you so much for the presentation about gaslighting and the narcissistic behavior and the methodologies, how to, to safeguard yourself, how to defend yourself, how to protect yourself using the Torah of truth, the Torah lenses, to protect yourself against narcissism, against gaslighting. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Amen, amen, and amen.